Thank you for watching. I have Bernalillo County Assessor in the studio today with me, and that's Tanya Giddings, correct?
Yes.
Tanya R. Giddings, right? I know we were talking about the R there. You were appointed last year, I think 2013, correct?
Correct, and thank you for having me here today. I really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Well, thank you for taking the time out to come and see us. I know everyone is busy. It's the time for them to be out there. What is exactly that you're doing? You're in the you have to be on the ballot, right?
Correct.
This year. It's your first election, I think. You were appointed last year. What exactly, when were you appointed? What time?
So I'll give you a little bit of a background. I was appointed in January of 2013 when the position became vacant. And it was to fill out the remainder of a last 2 years, 4-year term. And I was one of 21 applicants, and I was unanimously appointed to be the assessor. And so I've been in office about 17 months now.
And you get appointed by the county commissioners, correct?
Correct.
They unanimously, I think, decide whether they're going to pick a candidate. And I'm sure there's a process there for those watching, how that works.
There was a process, definitely. They made the announcement. I put in a resume, and I was fortunate enough to get past the process of, in order to even just get an interview. And I was able to meet with each commissioner, and I was fortunate to be appointed.
So it's a generalized interview. It kind of just talks about your background, even though they're familiar with who you are, because you've been in and around the state, I think, the county government, right?
And prior, I didn't really work with the commissioners. My background, I worked at the state legislature level for about 9 years and stuff. So. Yeah, it was new meeting with each one of the commissioners, but I did work in the assessor's office. That was where I basically started my public service career about 20 years ago.
Okay. So you came in, and then what was that process like going in there as somebody was appointed? And it's an experience.
It was.
You know, most people see that, well, it was such a nice experience to walk in there as an appointed person and stuff. That always helps kind of the whole psyche of the person, because you're already familiar with the position, but then you get. Like legislators, when they get appointed to being a senator or a house, they always they already know what the process is like as far as being a legislator, because they talk to others and stuff. So anyway, so what was the first year like?
The first year was definitely busy. There was a lot that needed to be done. There was a lot of immediate attention on the office, definitely, and so, but primarily my job, my responsibility was to administer state statute, and those state statutes have a very direct timeline, deadlines that we have to meet. So that first year was definitely the busiest.
So there's a learning curve there. I think it's because even though you know most of what's going on, and there's a lot of individuals helping you, I think there's also a learning curve on your
There's a learning curve coming as an assessor, definitely, but I believe why I was also selected was because I was an outsider. I definitely brought in a new perspective and a new vision for the office.
And I think once you're in the office and you're kind of in the position of being someone who's in charge of it rather than working with that person, it puts you in a different perspective there. Then you're responsible for so many other departments. Is it a pretty vast office, the county assessor, for those watching?
Yes, we have a staff about 130 plus.
That's a lot of people.
It is. It is. There's various departments. It's broken down from residential, commercial, customer service, and agricultural. I can go on and on, but it's a huge department, but with a lot of responsibility.
What is it, if there's anything you can pinpoint as far as the people watching, they're trying to learn what county assessor does? I mean, I understand a lot of the functions because I've looked into it. Those who are watching, haven't watched, they pay taxes. They don't know exactly how that function works. So maybe you can kind of tell them how the exact process is as far as the mechanism goes.
And I'll say, I mean, since I've been appointed, one of my priorities has been educating property owners on what the assessor's office does. So I think we've made some real progress, but it's a continuous process. So my job, again, is to administer property tax law by assessing the 250,000 plus properties here in Bernalillo County for property tax purposes. My job is solely to assess properties. We do not collect properties, and we don't collect taxes.
Exactly.
That's the
because
county treasurer's
I think
office.
usually there is a confusion there that I think they collect the taxes.
Correct.
You guys are only assessing it, yeah.
We are only assessing it. So we assess them as of January 1st, and then the notice of values are sent out either between April or May, and it's if they are sent out in April or if they are sent out in May, property owners only have 1 month to protest their values.
To contest it.
To
and
contest
say,
their
well,
values.
this doesn't feel right.
Correct.
What sort of questions do you get when you meet individuals or, say, residential owners?
You know, again, I mean, the questions are always, how is my property assessed? Or one of the things we really push is we want to make sure that everybody's taking full advantage of the exemptions that are available to them to help lower their assessed value, which in turn can help lower their taxes, the property tax bill.
Do you feel that there's anything as far as reform that's required for our current county right now as far as the assessor? Would you see any changings anything that you would like to change as far as?
I definitely do, but it's always a complicated, it's a complicated issue. You know, the one thing that's always, again, it's back in the news is tax lightning, 3% cap. And what that basically is it protects property owners that have been in their home for a long time, and their assessed value cannot go above 3%. Matter of fact, this year, we've seen a reduction of about 16% of homes that had already reached the market value, and their values had decreased. But unless there is a change in ownership, then your home will be brought to current and correct. And that's
what happens if the ownership has changed? Is there any?
Then when the ownership changes, then the home is brought to current and correct market value. So that means you'll see a drastic change in your property tax bill compared to your neighbors.
Okay, well, there's a lot of information there,
Yes.
and I have a lot of other questions too. So, but we'll always like to ask some of these questions because I get these from the viewers, like, why don't you ask her this or why don't you ask her that? We'd like to know more about this and
There's lots to talk about.
lots to talk about. It's a pretty decent sized department there.
It is.
I didn't realize that. Well, let me take a short break and we'll come back and we'll talk some more. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Take a short break. We'll be right back. Okay.